Ladies and gentlemen, there is something profoundly beautiful about understanding your worth not in the eyes of the world, not in the mirrors of validation, but in the quiet reflection of your soul. Too often we confuse being constantly present with being truly precious. We think being always accessible makes us appreciated. But the truth is, availability without value becomes noise in a world already too loud. You see, being everywhere for everyone can leave you nowhere for yourself. That's why today, I want to remind you of something simple, yet powerful. Don't just be available, be valuable. Your time, your energy, your kindness, they are not infinite, they are gifts. And gifts are meant to be cherished, not exploited. So, I invite you to walk with me today through the journey of discovering how to become valuable in terms of wealth or success, but in the terms of impact, purpose, and authenticity. Know your worth before you give your time. There is a strange heaviness that settles in the heart when you keep giving without measuring your value. You begin to feel invisible, not because others can't see you, but because you've stopped seeing yourself. And this invisibility isn't caused by rejection, it's caused by your own inability to pause and ask, do I matter here? You become so afraid of being seen as selfish that you let others carve pieces out of you. But even generosity must have direction. Kindness must have boundaries. Love must have wisdom. Because when you give without discernment, you start losing the very essence of who you are. You have to understand that your time is not just time, it is your life broken into minutes. Every second you offer is a fragment of your journey. Shouldn't it be offered with mindfulness? Shouldn't it be given to what adds value, not drains it? There's a silent strength in people who respect their own boundaries. They're not rigid, they're rooted. They're not selfish, they're selective. They're not distant, they're discerning. And that discernment comes from knowing their worth. Sometimes people don't value you, not because they're cruel, but because you've never shown them how to. You've taught them that your time is disposable, your presence is predictable, your energy is endlessly available, and now you're wondering why you feel so empty. But what if you started treating your time like treasure? What if you guarded your energy like a sacred offering? What if you stopped showing up everywhere and started showing up only where your soul is nourished? Knowing your worth is not about putting walls around your heart. It's about opening your heart only to those who handle it with care. It's about saying, my peace is not up for negotiation. My joy is not for sale. My time is not a public property. You teach people how to treat you by how you treat yourself. If you rush to everyone's call but ignore your own needs, how will anyone know you are worthy of rest too? If you keep saying yes when your spirit screams no, how will the world ever pause to ask how you feel? Sometimes, silence is your loudest answer. Sometimes, stepping back is your most powerful move. Sometimes, not picking up that call, not replying to that message, not attending that event that is your way of choosing you. You were not born to live in constant reaction. You were born to move in intentional action, to protect your time like a gift, to honor your presence like a blessing. Because when you start doing that, something magical happens. Your spirit begins to breathe again. The people who truly value you will never ask you to shrink yourself for their comfort. They will never guilt you for choosing your peace. They will never shame you for setting boundaries. And if someone does, let that be your keno, your guilt trip. You are not here to impress anyone by your availability. You are here to bless them with your authenticity. Let your presence be sacred, not scheduled. Let your time be a reward, not a routine. Don't be afraid to make space for yourself. Don't be afraid to become unavailable to the noise. Don't be afraid to retreat so you can return stronger, softer, wiser. You deserve to be in rooms where your silence is respected, in circles where your time is valued, in spaces where your soul is seen. And that starts with you choosing to honor your worth before giving your time. Build substance over visibility. There's a strange emptiness that creeps in when you chase applause without purpose. You might be standing under the spotlight, but if your soul is starving for meaning, the light feels cold, not warm. And suddenly, being seen doesn't feel like being known. In this world of instant fame and fleeting attention, it's tempting to believe that visibility equals value. That if people aren't clapping, you must be doing something wrong. That if you're not on display, you're invisible. But value is not about being watched. It's about being worth even in the silence. True value is born in the hidden spaces, in the hours you spend growing without validation, in the decisions you make that no one praises, in the nights you cry and choose to rise anyway, in the mornings you start again with a quiet determination. There is power in the person who keeps showing up when no one is watching. There is strength in the soul who builds in secret, who waters their roots before chasing the fruits, who chooses excellence even when there's no one around to applaud it. You see, substance is not glamorous. It doesn't trend, it doesn't go viral. It is built in the background, in the everyday courage to be better, to be consistent, to be real. And that, my friend, is where true greatness is born. It's easy to decorate your life with appearances, but only depth can sustain you when the applause stops. Because the world is fickle. One moment they cheer, the next they forget. But if you have built something real within, you'll never lose yourself to their forgetfulness. You don't need everyone to know your name, you just need to know who you are. You don't need millions of eyes on you. You need your own reflection to smile back with pride. You don't need to be everywhere. You just need to be true or right where you are. We've confused popularity with purpose, but they are not the same. One feeds your ego, the other feeds your soul. One is loud and fleeting, the other is quiet and lasting. Choose the one that makes you whole, not the one that makes you loud. Don't let the pressure to be seen rob you of your authenticity. The world doesn't need more noise, it needs more voices of truth. More hearts that bleed honesty, more souls that walk with grace and grit. That kind of value never goes unnoticed by the right eyes. Sometimes the most valuable people are the ones you never see on screens. They are healing families, lifting communities, carrying love in their hands, and lighting the world one soul at a time. And you know what? They are enough. Quietly, fully, beautifully. Your story doesn't need to be broadcasted to be meaningful. Your pain doesn't need to be performed to be valid. Your growth doesn't need to be shared to be real. Let the world wonder. Let your silence speak. Let your actions echo. There is beauty in becoming a person of depth. A person who doesn't speak often, but when they do, people listen. A person who may not be seen every day, but when they are, they leave a mark. A person who values presence over performance. So instead of chasing the stage, build your character. Instead of seeking the mic, seek meaning. Instead of rushing to be seen, root yourself so deeply that you can stand firm even when no one's looking. Let your life be your legacy, not your likes. Let your values be your platform, not your followers. Let your quiet truth be louder than the world's noise. That is where true value lives, not in the eyes of the many, but in the honesty of one whole soul. Say no to be able to say yes to what matters. There is a moment in life when you realize that your power isn't found in everything you agree to, but in the sacred, quiet decisions you say no to. And in that moment, you stop trying to please the world and start choosing yourself with grace and without guilt. You weren't born to be an echo of everyone's expectations. You were born to be the voice of your own truth. And sometimes that voice trembles, not because it's weak, but because it's tired of saying yes when the heart longed to say no. You can't protect your peace if you keep giving it away like it costs nothing. Every time you say yes out of guilt, you say no to your own balance. Every time you say yes to something meaningless, you say no to something that could have made you whole. The world teaches you to be kind, but it forgets to teach you the kindest thing of all, to protect yourself, to preserve your soul. To understand that self-respect sometimes wears the face of refusal, that a boundary is not a wall, it's a bridge to your peace. You don't have to explain your no. You don't have to apologize for protecting your space. You don't need permission to guard your time, your energy, your spirit. You just need the courage to choose you, especially when it feels uncomfortable. There are people who will only value you when you are accessible. The moment you draw a line, they will call you distant, difficult, even selfish. Let them. Because those who love you deeply will never demand that you abandon yourself to prove your care. Saying no is not about closing yourself off, it's about opening up space for what truly matters. It's about freeing your time for your passions, your peace, your healing, your calling. Every no becomes a doorway to a deeper yason that actually feeds your soul. You cannot say yes to your dreams if you're drowning in obligations that were never yours. You cannot say yes to growth if you're busy saying yes to staying stuck. You cannot say yes to love if your heart is too exhausted from pleasing everyone else. Start by pausing. Ask yourself, do I really want this? Am I agreeing out of fear or from truth? Do I feel lighter or heavier after saying yes? Because the answer isn't just a word, it's a reflection of your inner clarity. You don't need to do everything, you just need to do what aligns. You don't need to be everything for everyone, you just need to be whole for yourself. When you stop scattering your yeses like confetti, your life begins to feel grounded again. There will be moments when your no breaks someone's expectations, but it will build your self-trust. There will be moments when people misunderstand you, but you will finally understand yourself. And in that clarity, there is quiet power. Protecting your time is not arrogance. It's reverence for your own existence. It's the way you say, my life has meaning. My energy is sacred. My soul deserves peace. And if someone cannot honor that, let them walk another path. You were not created to be drained. You were created to shine. And a burnt-out soul cannot offer light. Your ability to serve, to love, to uplift it all flows from the well within you. You must fill it first. Let your no be soft but firm. Let it come from love, but for yourself first. Let it build space, not distance. Let it protect your energy, so your yes can be vibrant, alive, and overflowing with purpose. Create a life that reflects your inner values. There comes a point in life when you look around at everything you've built, your career, your friendships, your daily routines, and you ask yourself a quiet but powerful question. Does this reflect who I really am? That question doesn't shout. It whispers. But when it does, it awakens something in you that cannot be silenced again. We spend so much of our lives chasing what looks good that we forget to ask what feels right. We follow paths that are paved and praised, not because they call to our soul, but because they promise acceptance. But what's the point of reaching a destination that doesn't align with your truth? When you live out of alignment, everything becomes heavy. Your smile feels forced. Your words feel rehearsed. Your days feel like performances. But when your actions reflect your values, life flows differently, not easier, but more honestly. And that honesty brings peace. Your inner values are not just principles written on paper. They are the compass of your spirit. They are the gentle voice that says, this is you, and the strong one that screams, this is not. When you begin to live in alignment with them, life becomes more than survival, it becomes soulful. Integrity is not about perfection. It's about consistency between your heart and your hands. It's about making choices, big or small, that honor what you believe. It's about showing up as the same person when no one's watching and when everyone is. You don't need to post your values. You need to embody them. You don't need to speak them loudly. You need to live them quietly in how you treat people, in how you respond to adversity, in how you hold yourself accountable when you falter. Living by your inner values doesn't always win you applause. In fact, it might cost you people, places, and comforts, but it gives you something far more precious: clarity. A sense of peace that doesn't depend on outside validation. A self-respect that cannot be bought or borrowed. The world will try to convince you that compromise is survival, that in order to belong, you must bend. But if bending means breaking who you are, it's not belonging, it's betrayal. And no success is worth the price of your soul. Let your choices be louder than your promises. Let your lifestyle reflect your beliefs, not your fears. Let your presence be your message, not because you preach, but because you practice. Every day, in small acts of alignment, you shape a life of substance. When your values lead, your path becomes clear, even if it's hard, even if it's lonely, even if it's misunderstood. Because deep inside, you'll know, I'm living truthfully. And that truth will carry you through storms that performance never could. You don't need to be loud to make a statement. Just be real. Be kind in a world that teaches cruelty. Be humble in a culture that rewards ego. Be compassionate even when it's easier to judge. That is how you reflect your soul. Let your life become a mirror for others not of perfection but of purpose. Let them see in your eyes the peace of someone who didn't trade their truth for comfort. Let them feel in your presence the strength of someone who didn't choose ease over integrity. Even if the world doesn't understand your values, hold them close. Because one day, someone will meet you and feel safe without knowing why. It will be your alignment, your authenticity, your quiet strength that speaks louder than any words ever could. Build a life you don't need a break from. A life where you don't have to wear masks. A life where you can wake up and say, this is me. This is what I believe in. And this is how I choose to live. Imperfectly, but truthfully. The most beautiful legacy you can leave is not in trophies or titles, but in the lives you've touched by simply being someone who lived by what they stood for. That kind of life doesn't just reflect values, it reflects light. There comes a moment in every soul's journey where it must pause and ask, am I simply present in this world, or am I making a difference? And in that sacred pause lies the entire message of this life. You were never created to be just available. You were created to be valuable. You see, being constantly available is easy. It requires no boundaries, no reflection, no intention. But to be valuable, that takes depth. That demands clarity. That asks you to move with purpose rather than people-pleasing. And this difference between just showing up and truly standing out is the difference between existing and living meaningfully. Your worth was never meant to be measured by how quickly you respond, how often you're seen, or how much space you fill. It was meant to be measured by the integrity of your choices, the alignment of your actions with your beliefs, and the quiet impact of your presence when no one is looking. When you know your worth, you stop giving your time to things that drain you and start devoting it to things that grow you. When you focus on substance over visibility, you begin to matter deeply instead of widely. When you learn to say no, you create room for your most powerful yes. And when your life reflects your values, you become not just successful but significant. So choose to live with intention. Choose to protect your peace. Choose to be remembered not for being available to everyone, but for being valuable to the right ones, including yourself. Let your energy be rare, your time be precious, your heart be guarded, and your life be a reflection of truth, not just routine. Because in the end, it is not how often the world saw you, it is what the world felt because of you. That is your legacy. That is your light. That is your value.